These idiots are so they're so stupid. They keep quoting the study by Pew Research. Pew did not put into account the amount of people that are leaving Islam. This survey, I believe, was done in 2013 or 14. So the ex-Muslim movement was still in its infancy, and the world had no idea how many people were leaving Islam. So this is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And the birth rates have been falling significantly over the last few decades. Pew did not put that into consideration as well. Pew assumed that number would remain the same. The birth rate that was at that time when it happened. So here it is. Let's just see what he has to say. Okay, so Faraz, what do you have to say? You're such a jihadi, aren't you?
Haris, what's happening? You're right, yeah?
Yeah, I'm good. What do you have to say?
Say about you lot be always talking rubbish every week, the same old rubbish every week.
Well, rubbish like Muhammad married a 9-year-old girl? Is that too much of rubbish to handle?
That was 1400 years ago. That was 1400 years ago.
So 1400 years. So you're saying that Muhammad's morality was good for 1400 years, for the time that was 1400 years ago, but not today. Is that what you're saying? So he's not a perfect man for all times.
No. It was only for that time. It was only for that time.
Oh, really? There's no ijma on that. The ijma is Muhammad was a perfect role model for all times.
Yeah, his teachings were, but if you read a hadith, it was Allah who told him to marry Aisha.
So you're saying that Allah's morality is not good for all times then?
No. It was only for that time. Simple.
Where does it say that? Where does it say that it was only for that time?
He did not say to anybody, marry kids. He did not say to anybody, marry kids.
But you understand. But you understand the concept of Sunnah, yeah? Whatever Muhammad did. So you can argue that, okay, well, it was 5 times prayer was only good for that time. It's not good for now. Marrying kids was only okay back in those days, but not now. Owning slaves was only good at that time. Then that destroys the whole concept. Do you understand this point? That destroys the whole concept of following Muhammad as a role model. You understand that part?
No.
And washing your ass the way Muhammad told you to wash your ass in the absence of bidet and toilet papers or wet tissue papers that are better than water, because it has antiseptic as well. All of that, you can apply that now and you don't have to follow the same
tissue paper is
that
not
Muhammad gave.
Water. Tissue paper is
I said wet tissue paper. It has antiseptic in that too. It's got antibacterial properties in that.
Yeah, well, he was the first man to do, teach people wash your private parts with water. Tissue, whatever. May have his water. Have it with water.
My point is, so Faraz, listen to the argument that I'm presenting to you.
Yeah.
You're saying that Muhammad gave you a code of conduct. Yeah. Do we agree with this?
Yeah. Of course,
so I'm saying that there are better ways to clean your private parts, such as wet tissue papers. Are you going to stop washing your bum because we have a better alternative?
No, there were no toilet paper at that time. Use your head.
I'm saying now.
No toilet paper.
Surprise, you're not following a simple line of reasoning. I am saying, yes, okay. I'm not saying that Muhammad should have followed that. There were no wet toilet papers back then. I'm saying now we do have them. So can we discard that practice?
No, we can't discard it because I myself use toilet paper, and then after toilet paper, I wash myself with water.
I am saying, no. You see, this is the problem with you guys because you're so dogmatic. You're just not understanding a simple line of reasoning. You're saying that certain practices like child marriages and washing your bum with water, Muhammad gave us the code of conduct. You're saying, well, washing your bum with water is fine. We should still do it, but don't marry kids, right? You're saying that. And you're saying that on the back of the argument that times have changed. So you apply that logic on child marriages, but you're not applying that logic on better alternatives for cleaning your private parts.
Haris, I told you before many times, Haris was only for that time. He did not tell anybody marry kids. He did not tell anybody marry kids. He did not teach anybody. And
he said in the Quran.
What did he say?
He said that in the Quran, that follow my example. It's in the Quran that follow the example of the Prophet. If Prophet can marry a child, then so can you.
But he was given divine instructions only for him. He was given divine instructions by God to marry Aisha. He was given divine. Read the hadith, Haris. It says he was given divine instruction. It was not for everyone. It was not
He's
for
saying
everybody.
follow, the Quranic verse
Oh
says
my
that
word.
follow your prophet, follow the example of the prophet. This is an example. The way he washed his bum, the way he prayed, and which is why there's dispute amongst Sunnis and Shias how to pray. But everyone fights about this because everyone wants to follow the code of the prophet or the example of the prophet. And this is what it
No.
says: if prophet married, and again, let me see when in your position. Prophet specifically said that you can't have more than 4 wives. So unless he specifically said that you can't follow me in this particular example, then it's fair game. You can marry a 9-year-old child just because you're following the example of the prophet.
No. I don't believe this. We can't. We have to follow the laws of the countries that we living in. Simple. You live in England, USA. You cannot marry a
Where does
child.
that say in the Quran? Where does that say? Where does that say?
Laws of the country. We need to follow the laws of the country.
Where does that say? Where does that say in the Quran or the Hadith?
What? No,
you know the
it's
Hadith.
not.
You know the Hadith. Okay, let me educate you, Sarfraz. You know the Hadith that where the fuqaha have derived this logic from, that you need to follow the law of the land. It doesn't explicitly say that, but also even in the same hadith, what it does say, it says that unless it goes against the teachings of Islam, the teaching of Islam, as Daniel Hakikati says, the child marriage is wholesome. And they say why? Because you look at the falling fertility rates in the Western world. And why? And again, this is Hakikatu, and I agree with Hakikatu. He is in line with the Islamic teachings. He says that if we wait, if we don't marry at the young age, if we empower women, if we educate them, if we let them go out to work, then women are empowered. And as a result, they can say, sorry, I'm not going to make 4, 5, 6 babies with you. I'm going to take command over my body. So as a result of that, the solution is you need to follow in the example of the prophet. So if you're in England and if England bans you from marrying a 9-year-old girl, then that is against the law, against the Sharia. That hadith clearly says that follow the law of the land as long as it doesn't go against the Islamic principles, Islamic Sharia. That's what the hadith says. I don't have that in front of me. If someone can send it to me.
If anybody wants to marry a kid, yeah, they won't do that kind of stuff. That stuff only happens in Africa. Is their culture? It happens there. It happens in Asia.
They're following the prophet. They're following the example of the prophet. They're following the example of the prophet.
Nobody can marry kids in the West. Nobody can marry kids in the West. It's
that's thanks to the West. That's thanks.
Yeah?
That's thanks to the West. That is thanks
it's
to
not
the West.
Because 100 years ago, Harry, they were having kids here. 100 years ago, they were kids here.
Yeah, they were just as bad as Islam. They were just as bad as Islam.
Atheists, Christian, having kids everywhere. What are you on about? USA
yes,
today?
Kids,
they
were just as bad.
Today even.
Yes, they were.
Today.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
Sarfraz, listen to this argument. They were just as bad as Islam. You know, there are sects within Christianity, the offshoots of Christianity in America, where they have polygamy as well. So they do it. So we call that wrong. But today, the human intellect has come up with the arguments against child marriages. What do you have to say to this Quranic verse? It says, and for those who have not menstruated, this is the infamous verse from Surah Talaq, Surah Divorce. This is the 4th verse, and it is telling you about who has the iddah period, meaning the waiting period after she's been divorced or she's been widowed. And those who no longer expect menstruation among your women, meaning the old women, if you doubt, then their period is 3 months. Okay, and also for those who have not menstruated. And in Urdu as well, has been translated as well. वो औरतें जिन्हें has आना शुरू ही ना हुआ, meaning the little girls who've not even had their first period. It's been sanctioned by the Quran, Sarfraz. This was the morality, and I agree with you. This was the norm back in the day, and that's why we say Quran is the book written by a man of that time. He was not giving you any logics. He was not giving you any worldview that was ahead of his time. It wasn't. Maybe you could argue it was 100 years ahead of his time. I'm willing to give you that. But it does not. This is why we say the Quran is redundant in this day and age. Do you get that point, Safar? So can we move on from that point, that, or maybe we can leave that on a disagreement, that you're saying that, okay, certain principles were just okay for back in the day, but you understand the implication that means Prophet Muhammad was not the perfect source of morality for all times. He was a perfect source of morality for that time, but not for all time. Do you agree? Do you understand the conundrum here that you're proposing?
No. Most of his teachings are for all time, but just that one thing that you talked about, Aisha thing, that was only for that time. I told you before many times.
What about slave? What about owning sex slaves? What about owning sex slaves?
That doesn't happen now. That was for that time.
So there's two things then. So there's two things, not just one thing.
That was even in the old.
Two things.
That was even happening in the Old Testament as well. The Jews used to own them as well. It was just for that time in the Torah and the Quran. It was only for that time.
Yeah, but the New Testament didn't have it. Yeah, but the New Testament didn't have it. New Testament outlawed it.
No. Jesus was following the old laws.
Yeah, but this particular. So, Fraz, listen to this.
Yeah.
The New Testament did not sanction sexual slavery. They sanctioned slavery, but not sexual slavery. Listen. You might learn something. I know you're quoting Deuteronomy. We actually made a video on that not so long ago. So even in the Old Testament, the sex slavery was far more difficult. And Old Testament is a terrible book. Might be worse than the Quran, according to our worldview. But even there, there were conditions in for slavery, for women to be taken as sex slaves, that you've taken them, you put them away for 30 months, you shave their head off, you cut their nails, and then you give them 30 days, and then you have sex with them. And if they are unwilling, there's consent involved in that. If they're unwilling, then you let them go. This is written in Deuteronomy. So in the Quran, I can play you Shabir Ali's clip if you want to see. Give me a second. No. Hang on, Sarfraz. I know. Please, Sarfraz, give me some time and let me clarify for the audience as well. Okay, it's not just you; it's other people as well. Listen to what Shabir Ali has to say on that, and he is not, by any stretch of imagination, a hardliner. Listen to what he has to say.
In essence, generally, it is taken for granted that a Muslim man can have up to 4 wives at once. In addition to the 4 wives, he can have an unlimited number of concubines, which refer to women who are basically have slave status. When they are owned by her master, a woman owned by her master has to freely give herself to the master.
And how does consent play into this at all, or can we understand anything about consent from this end? Like, does the female slave have to consent to that, or is it kind of like because she's owned and so therefore?
In the classical thought, the understanding is that by virtue of the fact that she's owned, she does not have the right to consent. Or to withhold herself from her master. The master has the full right over her, and her consent does not play anything in this relationship.
So what is Islam's
consent does not play into anything. So that's the thing, and there's ijma on that, Sarfraz, and a consent is actually a problem in the Old Testament. Deuteronomy, it actually clearly says that if she is not willing to have sex with you or be intimate with you, you let her go. You don't even sell it. You don't even sell her off. You actually let her go. So again, Old Testament, as bad as it is, as evil as it is, and I'll give you that, it's a lot more evil when it comes to genocide and murdering and killing, even down to even their animals. It's a lot worse than the Quran. But on this particular topic, I'm sorry to say, Quran takes a cake. Islam is the worst when it comes to sex slavery. So you said initially that there's only two things. There's only one thing, that's Aisha's age, but most of his teaching. By saying most, you're automatically admitting that there are some that are not applicable. So by virtue of that statement, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, not everything. So you can argue that it's great, but it's not perfect. So perfect role model out of the window. But then I pointed out another option, another problem, the sex slavery part. So what do you have to say to that? I have the last word. I need to wrap it up.
Sex slavery, I can't see anything happening with sex slavery now, but it was happening back then. I rarely see it happening now as well. So no, it doesn't happen at all.
It's the UN, it's the Western world that eliminated it.
No, it's not the Western world. It's just that it doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen in Africa. It doesn't happen in Asia. It doesn't happen in Arabia.
Who were the first countries? Who were the first countries that spoke against slavery? Who were the first countries?
I don't know.
No.
UK, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. And who were the last countries to have slavery?
Get slavery. Who cares about slavery? It doesn't happen anymore.
Who were the?
What about Boko Haram though? Don't Boko Haram engage in slavery?
No, forget about them.
Forget about them. But it's fine. ISIS do it too.
Boko Haram and ISIS are created by the bloody US anyway. You know their bloody histories. They're created by the US. Taliban, all these terrorist groups are created by the US and Israel. We all know that.
Hold on, so you don't think the Taliban state in Afghanistan right now is the perfect Islamic state? Like they call themselves the Islamic Emirate? Where's that Islamic element coming from?
No. Taliban are not from us lot. They're doing their own thing. We don't agree with them.
Oh, so no true Scotsman again. Okay, cool.
All right, Sarfraz. Okay, Sarfraz. Thank you very much for coming. Just did a Google search. From what I saw, China had toilet paper from the 6th century. Yeah, but they didn't have the wet toilet paper, so he's probably talking about that. But yeah, it's well, the Romans used to have this cloth on top of the stick, and that's where the term "wrong end of the stick" came from, because they would wipe their bum and they would give the stick to the person sitting next to them. And if they give it like that, so you can grab the wrong end. But again, they still use the same one. So
they were also washing their private parts with water by then as well. So
some of them, the luxury, who were not using private toilets. But again, there's another fun fact: the civilizations of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they had ensuite toilets. Nuria, they had ensuite toilets on the first floor. And they used the pressure to flush it out. And that would get out of the city. That would be drained out of the city.
Yeah, they had like a proper drainage system built. One of the first in the world. The Sunnah Dunnis are getting they're cheerleading right now, Horace, listening to this.
Well, no, but it's not. But they weren't.
It's the Indus civilizations, trust me. They are excited.
Yeah, but no, they aren't. They can't. We can't let them own it because they weren't Hindus. There's not a single Hindu god or goddess idol found in Harappa or Mohenjo-daro. They lived
exactly.
And they lived nearly 2,000 years before, or 1,500 years before. I think that's 1500 BCE when they went extinct, or the civilization collapsed for reasons we still don't know.
Yeah,
they didn't have any standing army. It's so fun that they didn't have any standing army.
Found some corpses where they literally would died holding hands.
Yeah, there were very few of them, but it's not conclusive whether they died in any conflict or not. They didn't have any standing armies. There were no mass weapons found. Nothing is found. It's just quite amazing.
So mysterious, though. It's like, what happened there?
At the time when the Sumerians and Egyptians and when those civilizations existed, and there's ample evidence to show that Mohenjo-daro and Harappans, these guys were trading with the Sumerians, but yet they were so peaceful. They didn't have an army. It's a remarkable fact. And they had the best drainage system that even the Romans could not master it. So the Romans had public lavatories and baths, but Mohenjo-daro had this grand bath where the whole city went and they bathed. And then they also had toilets. They had toilets, ensuite toilets in your country. in your country, England, people still don't have ensuite toilets.
That's very true. But imagine if that was replicated to Islam. I just thought, imagine if Sauda was able to go into some private-ish cubicle of some kind, then Omar would never have seen her and hijab would never be a thing. And we'd save ourselves from so much heartache. But yeah.
Exactly. I'm just going to add, Sarfraz, one more time. Have the final word in this, Sarfraz. I think you changed the topic from what was happening back in the day versus the crime rate in the Muslim countries.
Laws of, if you look at Arabia, yeah, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, look at their crime rates. Look at their rapes. Do you ever see on news that a woman's got raped on the street? There are killings on the streets? Never. Why? They've got the laws of Islam. Look at the USA in the West.
You're changing the
I'm saying the laws of Islam are successful. Simple. The least crime rate countries in the world. The least crime countries in the world.
What if I told you?
Arabs.
Okay,
Arabia.
So, let me prove you wrong. You're saying something factually wrong. Again, you listen. You spend a lot of time among these Muslim channels. What if I told you? Would you believe me or not? The homicide rate in Sweden and Finland and Japan is less than that of the homicide rate in Saudi Arabia. What if I told you? Would you believe that? Because you didn't want to admit that countries like Japan and Sweden and Finland are better than your Islamic Sharia state. And if I started giving him the list of problems in these Sharia-run countries, he's going to go the same way as Daniel Hakikachi. No true Scotsman. Sorry, there's no true Sharia country in the world right now. That's what he would have said. But anyway, he's done a runner. He's done a runner.
One more thing, please, yeah?
Okay.
You look at the West, yeah? Look at the West, yeah? Drinking themselves to death, killing themselves, shootings happening everywhere. USA got 100 gun crimes every day, 110 people dying every single day, thousands of women getting raped on the streets. No success at all in the West. Look at the state of the West and look at Arabia. A woman can walk in Arabia at nighttime, no one will touch her.
If she gets raped, Sarfraz, she can't go to the police. You know that, right?
Who's that? No. Forget that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
No, I'm talking. You just started talking about that. You're saying she can walk safely at night. But I'm telling you,
walk on the West. If there's a woman walking at night time in the
one more, Sarfraz. Okay, Sarfraz, we got your point, Sarfraz. So first of all, the definition of rape in the Muslim world and the Western world is very different. But the three claims that you made that were all wrong. The slavery and child marriage part, that again, you shot yourself in the foot. But let's just go with some hardcore stats. Yeah, you talked about crime being the lowest in Sharia countries, but if I start pointing it out to Saudi Arabia, oh, by the way, one point that ended, first countries to oppose slavery were the British, and then there were the French. And then the French Revolution happened, and then it set back a bit. But then even Tsarist Russia, and then obviously the United States. So they were all Western countries that actually pressured even the Caliphate. And when the Ottomans actually caved into the pressure, the Grand Imam of Hijaz actually issued a fatwa that the Ottomans are apostates, and they're wajibul qatl, meaning they are. They should be murdered. So anyway, that was one thing. So it's clear in history, no one would dispute that. It was the Western countries that abolished slavery, and as a consequence of that, sex slavery as well. The last countries to end slavery were the Muslim countries, Saudi Arabia and Yemen in the 60s, and Mauritania quite recently in 2005. All three Muslim countries. So that was fact number one. Fact number two. Crime rate in Islamic countries versus the Western world, or liberal world, I would say.
Dubai, UAE.
Dubai is not an Islamic country by any stretch of imagination. You understand that, yeah?
Not an Islamic country.
Sarfraz.
Islamic country.
Sarfraz. There are bars allowed. There's homosexuality allowed in Dubai. There are this very same thing that you're speaking about. Alcohol, dying to alcohol and all of that is legal in Dubai. You know that, yeah? It's not an Islamic country. If you want to give me an example of an Islamic country, give me an example of Pakistan or Bangladesh, but Hakikachi would say they're not. They're still leaning towards liberalism. Or maybe give me an example of Oman or Saudi Arabia.
Just a
Pakistan
fact
is
thingy.
not-
Homosexuality is not allowed, but the rest is, yeah.
No, it is. It is now. Oh, sorry, not homosexuality. Kissing and
No, it's not. Yeah.
Kissing and premarital sex is allowed now.
Premarital
That's
sex.
been, yeah, that's been legalized. Yes,
Not technically
we
for
covered
Muslims
that.
though, but yeah.
Yeah, not for Muslims, but yeah, for other people.
Harish, the more success is this year, the more successful way is put rapists to deaths, put murderers to death. That's why Arabs are clever. That's why the Arabs are clever on this.
Surprise, look at this one. No,
yeah,
so Arabs, Surprise.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia and Oman, use them as an example of Islamic country. Dubai is not an Islamic country. Next minute, you're going to give me example of Turkey. That look, Turkey's an Islamic country. Look how wonderful that is. The lifestyle is. No, there are bars and alcohol and nightclubs and discos. Everything's there. So have a look at this top 10 country with the lowest murder rates. Japan, not a Muslim country. Singapore, not a Muslim country. Both of these countries have more atheists, and Japan has a very big population as well. Hong Kong, China, Luxembourg, European country. Indonesia, yes, a Muslim country, but there's no Sharia other than the province of Aceh. Norway, Oman, yes, okay, I'm willing to give it to Oman. That's a good one. But why there's no Saudi Arabia? There's Switzerland, United Arab Emirates, and China, the grand atheist ex-communist country. So it doesn't look like the Sharia is what keeping people the murder rate down. It's not that. Okay, that's just one as far as crime rate is concerned. The other point that you made, what else did you say? You said the life expectancy. Look, these people are dying. They're drinking to death. Let's have a look at some of the world's life expectancy. Monaco, Japan, Monaco. Yeah, holistically, Monaco. So I would drink myself to death if I'm going to live to the age of 90. Monaco, Japan, Singapore, Macau, San Marino, Andorra. What's this country? Guernsey, Hong Kong, Australia. Oh, I'm going to live up to 82 if no jihadi gets to me. Italy. Where are the Muslim countries? Hang on a second. There has to be a Muslim country. Oh, even the bloody Jews are way above us. Iceland, Anguilla, Netherlands, Bermuda, Cayman Islands, New Zealand. Where in Norway? Where's a Muslim country? Have I missed anything, Nuria? Malta is not a. Faroe Islands, Luxembourg, Belgium. Jeez, man, these people are dying. These people are killing themselves. Drinking themselves to death.
Harish is nothing to do with dying. Is the main thing.
You said that drinking. You said that drinking to death.
Right.
You said that drinking to death.
They are, but my main argument is look at their families. They are collapsing. The children are bloody, on the streets. The husbands on drugs. The most people that are addicts here are white people. Why? Why is it that all the alcoholics are white? The addicts all white. The most rapists in the West are white. Why?
That's not true, Safraz. You absolutely know that's not true. If we were to pull up the stats for the UK and the breakdown of who's actually committing rapes, I think you'd find a very different picture.
The most people that commit what do you call it?
Safraz, can I ask you a really quick 2 questions?
Yeah, go on.
So like you were talking earlier about the law of the land, and like how you're supposed to respect that. So yeah, you agreed, right? That's what you said.
Go on.
Yeah. So what about all these Muslim mobs that have basically pulled this film from the cinema? Do you agree that they were right, or why are they not respecting the law of the land? Do you condemn what the Muslims have done?
They were right to cancel it.
Why? That's not respecting the law of the land, though, is it?
No, but they're disrespecting.
In this country, we don't pull films.
They're disrespecting our Prophet and family. So,
but Safraz, last time I checked, you're in the UK, and we have no blasphemy laws here. So we don't care about disrespecting anyone's prophet. We have no blasphemy laws.
You have to respect our Prophet. You cannot.
Why do we have to respect?
Not the law of the land. That's not the law of the land.
It's a rules. It's a rules, man. It's
no law of the land. You said you'll follow the law of the land.
Yeah, in certain ways. But you
cannot disrespect. So there's the little caveat. Yeah.
You cannot disrespect the Prophet.
See, these are the terms and conditions that come with Islam.
The law of the land. This is not respecting.
Why are you imposing your views and your respectability levels on us? Is my question.
No, what do you mean on us? Because Prophet Muhammad was sent for the whole world. So the whole world needs to.
He wasn't sent for me. He wasn't sent for the people of the Amazon.
Well,
He wasn't sent for the Aborigines.
You are going to hell. You are going to hell, and Harrison going to hell.
What about the Aborigines? Are they all going to hell? What about every single culture that never came into contact with, thank heavens for them, with Islam? What about them?
We need to wrap this up, Sarfraz. You've given us a lot of content, but I think you're not making any sense.
If anybody has not come in contact with the prophets yet, they will be in heaven, hopefully. But
Okay, all right.
You're going to be in hell.
I know you told me on every video on my channel that I'll be going to hell.
All right, Sarfraz.
Burn in hell.
All right, Sarfraz.
Burn in hell.
Okay.
Remember me, yeah? You're burning hell.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Okay, Aditya. Cool. Okay, all right.
Okay, take care.
Love to you, brother. Okay, Sarfraz. Well, I'm going to burn in hell, but, he doesn't know that I actually prefer summer. That's why I'm not in cold Australia right now.
Hell's going to be live. I can't wait.
Hell's going to be lit as. Okay.
Honestly.
I reckon that was a very good call. I think Sarfraz is.
I had a couple more questions for him, but I know it's gone an hour now.
We need to move on. I wanted to share something else as well. He was saying that the family system is collapsing. It's the same one. This is the danger of people like Hakikachu. Look at this fertility rate in Oman is falling. So what they're going down. What's in Kuwait? It's got nothing to do with 2.08. It's below the threshold of 2.2. So it's got to do with. It's got to do with economic prosperity, not necessarily with the lack of with lack of religion. But that's the argument that these and when you give them something, they add another one. They add another caveat. To tell this dude that the reason why rapes and abuse cases in Islamic countries are low is because 95%. Yeah,
exactly,
we don't know about 95%.
They would be turned on to them. Exactly. You're forced into silence. Most women that I have encountered who have been raped or subject to sexual assault of any kind get on the first plane back to their home country because there is no justice for them in that country. They switch the onus. And and in general, crimes in general do not get reported. The expats in those countries that drink themselves to death, Sarfraz, the ones that commit suicide, jump off balconies, they don't report them because they want to keep attracting that stream of expats to this tax-free, play hard, work hard kind of lifestyle. So obviously, you're not gonna get it. Think of it in terms of like a police state, in terms of how media is controlled. But you have
and there's no such thing as marital rape.
With the ground realities, you have to counter it. Like, you can rely on stats to a certain extent, but let's just talk about how the law actually works in these countries and how crime is handled.
There is no marital rape in Islam. And the other thing is, obviously, in Islam, and again, this is thanks to the Western world or humanist values, we don't have sex slavery anymore. But as you heard from Dr. Shabir Ali, a well-respected theologian, Islamic theologian, so there's no such thing as consent as far as sex slaves are concerned. I wonder what is it? And we say that this blindfold of reverence, Aqidat ki patti, they have this blindfold of reverence which forbids them, which prevents them from looking into the scriptures as they are. He would not be making this excuse. He would not be making this excuse if I had told him the story of. Well, I've got it right in front of me. I've spoken about it so many times. Yeah. Japan has the lowest. Singapore, Hong Kong, Luxembourg, Indonesia, which doesn't have Sharia. Norway, Oman. Oman is the one that's number 7. That's the first true country with Sharia laws. Switzerland, UAE. Again, UAE. They wouldn't call it Islamic. And look at China. China's there too. So and unfortunately Sweden has gone downhill in the last few years. But anyway.
But also even in Saudi Arabia, they're chopping off people's hands and stuff every Friday anyway, and the crimes are barely even reported there. And women are not protected, mate. You get arrested if you get raped there. Is just, they'll never disclose what happens. Even in the UAE, a crime that's reported is like filtered through so many channels before it makes it into the paper, and most of them aren't. So that's actually no comparison. Also, I'd love to ask Sarfraz about the law of the land and how he feels about banning a film then, because surely that's not part of the law of the land that he seems to respect.
To help me produce more videos like these, support me on Patreon or PayPal.